The Pharaoh. The Monte and the Pharaoh.
The Monte and Pharaoh Show.
And you're watching the Monte and Pharaoh Show.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
With Monte and the Pharaoh.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
It's Monte and the Pharaoh.
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 Monte and Pharaoh.
It's Monte and the Pharaoh. And Monte and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monte and the Pharaoh?
Monte and Pharaoh.
The Monte and the Pharaoh Show.
Monte and the Pharaoh.
We've got the future Hall of Famer, that worker, Marty Jannetty, MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two future Hall of Famers, Monte and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we're gonna rock it.
Welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, only seen here live at Village Connection Radio, straight out of Huntington, New York, only at Rockstar Studios. Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte and the Pharaoh. At the desk is none other than owner Jim Savali. Jim,
What up?
Jim
and to the right is none other than the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Pharaoh. Jimmy.
Good evening, everybody. Back again.
So you were working yesterday. We had a good old Hollywood in studio. You missed out a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
I think I missed out big time, quite honestly. Yep, I did. Oh, well. It went well, though. Good interview.
It was good, right?
Yeah, I caught it. It was great. Of course I caught it.
Did you watch Glow at any point?
Back in the day, it's weird. I think we were just talking about it outside. Yeah, I actually did from time to time. I thought it was very bizarre. I find it amazing that it's been resurrected in such popular fashion with the Netflix series. So, wow. Cool.
It's funny. We've met a lot of wrestlers, right? And we've met a lot of wrestlers. I got to tell you, Hollywood and Rosa.
Okay.
High class people.
Okay.
I got to tell you, I was so happy with that interview with Hollywood and how good person and Lady O, by the way, who
to be fair too to you mark out, if I can use that term, you mark out way more for the girls, the women, than I do.
Yeah, I mean.
So I know you were really looking forward to both of them, and they were both good. They both delivered excellent.
So we're in a roll right now. So we will next week have a big event. We've got the big event where we're bringing in J.J. Maguire. Want to tell the fans a little bit about J.J. Maguire?
J.J. Maguire, legendary composer. That's right, composer, guitarist, and co-collaborator with the great Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, back in the day for many of the legendary musical scores for the wrestlers.
Yep.
This is fantastic. Being a musician my whole life, how much better does it get than this? Come on.
So JJ's here on Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll be interviewing JJ live on the show.
Yep.
And then on Friday, JJ, along with one half of Wisteria Hall,
That's right.
will be here playing in the band.
Yep.
We've got Road Warrior Animal in studio, Hillbilly Jim in studio, Buff Bagwell in studio, and your boy,
My boy?
Elgin.
Michael Elgin.
Yeah. Do I say the?
Why is he live? Well, either way, I've heard it pronounced either way, but we'll straighten it out with him. I certainly want to make sure I say it the right way, otherwise he'll squeeze me to death.
Right.
Guy's huge.
So we got a lot of, and then Village Connection and the Monte and the Pharaoh Show make their first appearance at the big event in LaGuardia.
Yep.
So we'll be handing out some shirts, some DVDs.
Yeah.
JJ will be in the booth.
I hate to use a Beatles reference, but we may have to take pills to stay awake.
Yeah, it's gonna be
This is going to be like one of those, marathons. Get ready, Jimbo.
And one of the most important parts about this, Pharaoh, is we want to show aspiring podcasters and broadcasters that this is a studio you have to come to if you want to be successful, right?
Yeah, of course.
Week 3 into cable.
Yeah.
We got an email from the cable company saying we were the number one
There
most
it is
viewed show
There it is again.
on Channel 115.
There it is again.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
I want to get back to J.J. Maguire. We'll be promoting his book, My Life in Heaventown. Have you read that yet, Pharaoh?
Yep. Very good. Detailed, and it shows the other side to the back of the curtain. Coming not from a wrestler, coming from someone who's in the business in a much different way.
Wow.
This was great.
Jim, did you watch it at all?
I read a little bit of it. I read the intro a little bit.
The
Got
intro.
into the first chapter, but that's about it.
That's about it. You're not a wrestler fan.
I thought he was going to say there was you knock on the door and there was a package and,
What?
Jim got busy with something else for
Oh, yeah, right
for a
when
little
I was
while,
reading the
ate a
intro.
couple of brownies, and I don't know, Jim. I just figured something else cooler came along for a little bit. It's like, you know what? Maybe I'll read this around 4 o'clock when I'm in a different frame of mind. I don't know.
So JJ's book will be on sale at the big event. Also, JJ will be signing
Yes, sir.
autographs and taking pictures.
Yes, sir.
So, and again, we will have the Village Connection banner there. So again, for aspiring podcasters,
Sweet.
broadcasters, this is the way to go.
It is.
Anyway, we have a special guest. I'm very excited.
Yes, we do.
You're the intro guy, right?
I'm the intro guy?
Yeah, so I want you to intro.
Dude, I can't see that.
All right, I'm going to go
You
then.
do it.
All right, so our special
He asked the
guest
blind
is
guy to read.
Mike Messier.
That's right.
He's an
Mikey.
award-winning screenwriter, director, TV host, and actor.
Okay.
And is also known as Mike Messier, Angry Wrestling Fan. And that's how we know him.
My God.
We'll get more into Mike's background, but this is going to bring in early to one of my most important favorite parts of this show.
Oh, here we
All right?
go.
The
so
annoying
early. So early.
wrestling expert.
Oh,
Wrestling
And here he is, Mike Messier. Mike, how are you, buddy? Thanks
Mikey.
for joining the show.
Mikey.
I'm glad to be here, guys. Hopefully our technical things are all worked out and everyone can hear me and maybe even see me if you're so blessed or unblessed. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. But thanks for the introduction and thanks for the invite to be here. And maybe we can have some common ground or maybe some discommon ground. We'll find out. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Mike, first, before we get into it, because I want to tell the fans what happened between you and Monte and the Pharaoh, which actually started this.
Okay.
Tell the fans out there a little bit about yourself. I gave you a brief description, but I think the fans want to know what you've done, and before we introduce you as that angry or annoying wrestling expert, tell us a little bit about yourself.
There's the wrestling, history and the non-wrestling history. Briefly, the non-wrestling history, I've won 30 awards of one kind or another for film, TV, stage plays. I produce a film festival called Avalonia Festival. The first 3 festivals were in Rhode Island. The next one will be in Jacksonville, Florida on December 7th. June of 2020, I'm hosting a theater festival, also in Jacksonville, Florida. And as far as pro wrestling goes, I've been watching wrestling since 1982. I attended a lot of great shows as a kid, the Crockett Cup 87, Dusty and Nikita, both nights. I was there the night that Eric Koulas got his head smashed open by New Jack in Revere, Mass. I wrote a pro wrestling column called The Foreign Object during the ECW in New England years, which was like 95 to 98. I went to Barely Legal, had a press pass for a lot of ECW shows. I wrestled 13 matches myself. I don't consider myself a former professional wrestler. I consider myself a guy who had 13 pro wrestling matches and kind of learned the hard way that without proper training, nobody should be in the ring. I was wrestling guys that didn't have experience. I didn't have experience. We were do it yourself or train yourself or learn on the job training. It wasn't very smart, to be honest with you, but it was fun. So when I see those guys doing backyard type stuff or jumping off the basketball court, gym, or whatever, I get nervous for those guys because I know how easy it is to break your neck. On top of that, the last couple of years, I was in a group called the Cult of Kayfabe Facebook group. People were debating about the Big Show losing a cage match to Braun Strowman. And I got so worked up about it, about how they've treated the Big Show, that I felt like cutting a video. I was new to the world of smartphones. I was really late in the smartphone world. And I wanted to experiment by giving my views about the Big Show's career and how I think the WWE kind of ruined him from the get-go when he jobbed to Steve Austin in his first night on Raw. And that was my first ever Mike Messier Angry Wrestling fan video. 2.5 years later, I'm still doing them. Maybe not to the extent that I've done with the vigor and the everyday type of thing as I did before, but I still do the Mike Messier Angry Wrestling fan videos. A mutual friend or acquaintance of ours, Emmett Ginsberg, took notice of that. Other people have taken notice. Vince Russo had me on his show, kind of by a weird turn of fate, and then Vince invited me back to his show for a full hour where we discussed a lot of things beyond wrestling, namely my experiences in the medical industry as part of the system, not as a doctor by any means, but by someone who was kind of misdiagnosed or overdiagnosed. I've had a pretty interesting history in life. MikeMessier.com has the information. This photograph, if you can see it, of Road Warrior Hawk was at a pro wrestling show in the Baltimore arena I went to as a small child and saw the Road Warriors and Dusty Rhodes. I think it was versus Barbarian, Warlord, and Ivan Koloff. So I've seen a lot of great wrestling. The state of pro wrestling today, sometimes it angers me, a lot of times it does, specifically the WWE. Some of the decisions they've made politically, I don't agree with. I agree. I believe in a separation of wrestling and politics. And as we've seen with the WWE funding Donald Trump's campaign and their dealings in Saudi Arabia, the WWE doesn't believe in a separation of wrestling and politics. And that's something that upsets me. And that's probably why I got you guys' attention, because I was very outspoken that Vince McMahon had sold his soul. And I think you guys didn't understand what I was talking about or were offended by it, because I know you're big Vince McMahon's fans, and that's fine. I've went to a lot of WWF shows, a lot of WWE shows, and had a great time. I saw Blackjack Mulligan and Andre the Giant in a main event in a Texas Death Match at the Capitol Center. Well, so the WWF's been good to me, but the last couple of years I've been upset in their direction.
So, Mike, I'm, and I'll let the Pharaoh speak for himself. My viewpoint on Vince McMahon is I feel Vince McMahon has been painted in a corner by wrestling experts, call them, because for whatever reason, right? Because he's no longer the underdog. And I'll use the example that bothered me most recently. Again, I appreciate you coming on, and you were on with Russo, and you were talking, and correct me if I didn't hear everything right, because I have a habit of not hearing things right. I have a habit of hearing what I want to hear.
Go on.
You basically told Russo that the WWE should have never went to Saudi Arabia because of the way Saudi Arabia treats their women. And
their civilians in general, yep.
And on top of that if the women really cared, they would stop like fooling around with guys in the back and go and leave and move on to another organization. And a couple of problems I had with that, and I felt, number one, I'm not a big fan of Russo, I'll admit it. I watched him sit there and clap and applaud you. Meanwhile, in my opinion, Vince Russo's been nothing but an example of a man who degraded women to line his own pockets. What are your thoughts about that?
What exactly are you talking about? You talking about the Sable, like the Sable era of the Attitude Era?
If you want the Attitude Era, WCW, everything he did. Look, how about putting who Buff Bagwell is going to be in studio next week? He put Buff Bagwell's mother on a forklift. I mean, that's degrading. Regardless whether she wanted to do it or not, this is an older lady, and you made a fool out of her.
Mikey, I think it's safe to say, and I think you will agree with me because you seem to be pretty logical at the end of the day.
I try to be.
Vince Russo is clearly the most cutting edge, push the envelope, whether it was sex, whether it was someone's mom on a forklift. He's clearly the most cutting edge, the face of racy wrestling, which you probably hate to begin with, let's be true. You know what I mean? I'm sure you don't like a lot of that stuff. And Russo was behind a lot of that. By the way, you know I am a Vince Russo fan.
Sure.
I think that his contributions to wrestling are immense. I also think, just like Vince McMahon, both have a positive side and a negative side. Where that all lies, I'm not sure. But I will ask you this much.
Sure.
Earlier on, you said something very interesting. Where is the, like, I have to ask you, do you know whether or not when the WWE cuts checks to the president's campaign, because I think that's what you said, are these checks in the name of the WWE? More importantly, where's the line? Doesn't Vince McMahon, the citizen, have a right to support who he wants for president? If he's cutting a check from the WWE, I get your point. But
Sure.
if Vince McMahon, the citizen, doesn't he have a right to support whatever campaign person he... Isn't that fair, Mike? Or no?
Well, I guess my response would be, my opinion is that you're right. As a citizen, yeah, he can support who he wants.
So are the checks cut in the name of WWE?
My point on top of that would be that the wrestling fans, a lot of times for the last 2 or 3, 4 years, you'll see wrestling fans in the Facebook groups use Donald Trump or Trump supporter as insult towards each other.
Okay.
You sound like a Trump supporter. You must like Donald Trump.
Right.
My point is, if you're a Donald Trump supporter and you're supporting the WWE, you have no problem. But if you don't like Donald Trump, what you're not realizing is your $120 a year for the WWE network supports the McMahon family. They're deeply invested in Trump.
Right.
So if you love Trump and you love WWE, you're good. But if you're a left-wing, liberal, whatever you want to call it, and you're using Trump as an insult towards each other, but you're still subscribing to the network, you're still buying your Bolios or your New Day-Os or whatever they call the cereal, then you're naive, because your $120 a year, which sounds a little bit different than $10 a month, supports a family that supports Trump. And Linda McMahon is on a Trump office.
Right.
The McMahons were the #1 funder of the Trump campaign in 2016. I'm not making that up. You can look it up, and it's right there.
And again, my point being, if that's their citizens' right, again, was the checks cut in the name of the company?
What does it matter if it's cut by the company?
I don't know.
They have
I'm
a
just
right.
wondering.
You have a right to spend your money any which way you want.
That's
and if you
true,
don't want to
too.
support them, you don't support them.
Right.
And that was my whole point
That's
to you,
true,
Mike,
too.
is that the issue I had was I understood your point, right? You have a hard stance on Saudi Arabia. I get it. But to watch Vince Russo act like a jackass, clapping and applauding you like he didn't degrade women, and now Vince is the devil because he went to Saudi Arabia. I have no problem with anyone feeling any way they want, but you have to be solid. You have to be on a straight line. And my point to you, Mike, was, hey, I respect what you said, but then on the other hand, if you feel that strongly about the Saudi Arabia move, why don't you feel that strongly about Vince Russo? Why do you support him? Why would you go on his show?
Well, I'll tell you exactly what happened if you want to hear it.
That's why you're here.
Okay, it was, I guess it was April 30th, 2018 to be exact. I have a pretty good memory. It was a couple of days after the original Greatest Royal Rumble, the very first show of these shows in Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
And I had just cut a long-form interview, not one of my best, but the interview was WWE wrestlers are no longer role models. I went home to my apartment in Rhode Island at the time, and I was on my smartphone. Once again, I'm a newcomer to the world of smartphones at this point, and I see something on my Twitter feed, which is I was following Vince Russo like I followed a lot of people, and it was something to the effect of, do you want to talk to Vince? Something like, Vito's not available, Big Vito, and push the button or call in to be on the brand. And I said, I didn't quite get what was going on. I thought it was like a call in and ask a question thing. I pushed the button on my phone, and suddenly I'm in a chat room with Cole Sharf, Bin Hameen, Vince Russo, and a couple of the other guys. And suddenly I'm in an environment where I've got a live mic. And, Mike with a live mic is a dangerous thing. Vince Russo is a Christian, so am I. The platform was there. I spoke my mind. And within the next morning, I had an email from Vince Russo asking me for my phone number. I gave it to him. He called me about 6 or 7 hours later. He invited me to be on his show the very next day. And we talked for an hour. I can send you that link. which you're welcome to watch, because we didn't talk a whole lot about wrestling. We talked about the medical situation that I wanted to talk about Vince Russo about, which was much more personal to me. The point is, in my opinion, it was an act of God that brought me to the Vince Russo platform because of the promo, as I call it, the promo. A lot of people have used that as a starting point for conversation. If they agree with me, if they disagree with me, if they love me, if they hate me, if they're indifferent, apathetic towards me, Vince Russo gave me the platform where a lot of other people wouldn't. Or that's just the way the fates broke down. Vince and I did the 1 hour interview. We talked for about 20 minutes after. I found him to be a nice guy. We had a lot in common as far as family situations at that exact time. Can I speak for his treatment of Sable and Sonny in 1996 or 1997, or winning the title from Booker T, which I don't particularly agree with as a wrestling fan? No. But I can only deal with the here and the now of this situation. Vince Russo's entire life is not my responsibility, nor is Mike Messier's his responsibility. You know what I mean? So that's all I can tell you.
Look, that's fair enough. You know, a couple other issues I have, Mike, is that I have a big problem when people feel they have a right to tell others where to spend their money, how to spend their money, right? That's a socialist to me. It's, you know, and it's not what this country is based on. You know, if Vince McMahon wants to make a deal with Saudi Arabia, that's his choice as an owner of a business or a CEO of a business. We have a right as Americans, and we have that right, which thank God we were born in this country, to either turn it off or keep supporting it, like you said. Get the network.
Can I admit something?
Go ahead.
I don't know how this is going to sound to either of you. I really personally hate that they're doing the business over there, but I'm still watching. What does that make me? You know what, though? I'll tell you why it doesn't make me a hypocrite, because I don't go on and complain about it.
No,
like publicly. It is what it is. I don't approve of it, but there's plenty of things in the past, whether it was Vince Russo's riding on a particular show back in the late 90s, or whether it was Vince McMahon screwing up something today. You hope for better. I don't know. We're
all addicted. We're addicted wrestling fans, and I'll be the first to admit it. I'm wearing a Road Warrior Hawk t-shirt. I'm surrounded by wrestling propaganda. You know, I've got an Iron Sheik action figure from 1985 upstairs.
You don't have belts, do you? Do you have belts?
I've got a Brian Pillman Stomp action figure tattooed on my leg, guys.
Okay.
So if there's an addicted wrestling fan, it's me. I mean, you know.
Mike, what's your opinion of today's wrestling fans that walk around with their $400 belts to wrestling arenas?
Oh God.
I've never bought a wrestling belt per se. I'm more of an action figure guy.
All right.
I'm more of a DVD guy. Like, I like watching old wrestling things. One thing I wish that these guys who had the belts would do is watch Starrcade 1983, watch Starrcade 1985, watch the WWF Wrestling Classic, Junkyard Dog, and Dynamite Kid and Randy Savage. I get frustrated with the young wrestling fans that they don't take the time to educate themselves, especially now when there's so much good wrestling from the past that they can compare the Omega flips and the wrestling, the plastic dolls in Japan, and all this stuff that I don't particularly like. If these guys were watching Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard with a wooden stick in their eyeball, they might know what real good professional wrestling is. So I have issues with the modern day stuff that's not even WWE. Joey Ryan disgusts me. Tommaso Ciampa, who I've met in person, is a nice guy, but him sticking his thumb up the buttocks of Jushin Liger irritates me and makes me appalled. So there's a lot of things beyond the state of WWE doing business in Saudi Arabia that I'm disgusted with. And super kicks. You talk about the Young Bucks and 30 super kicks a match.
Yep.
I mean, they can do 2 super kicks a match, and it's a better match. Mikey. So there's a lot of things that when the angry wrestling fan, you pull my string, I get pissed off.
Thoughts on Ken Shamrock doing the old Joey Ryan spiel recently?
Disgraces his legacy. It totally disgraces his legacy. Ken Shamrock is a legitimate badass. Ken Shamrock is a UFC legend. Ken Shamrock is a professional wrestling near legend. But for him to do the antics with Joey Ryan, and I know that I guess he won the match or he beat Joey or whatever, but when it's him or Mick Foley working with this guy and giving him the time of day, it diminishes them, in my opinion. And look, Ken Shamrock would twist my ankle off in half a second. If he was 80 years old, he could still kill me. But I'm just saying, it upsets me that a guy like Ken Shamrock, who I have a lot of respect for, would lower himself to the Joey Ryan bar wrestling garbage.
Well, that's my point about the WWE, anti-WWE movement. We could tear apart The Fiend against Seth Rollins, but Orange Cassidy and Joey Ryan are okay because that's entertainment. I don't understand that.
Where's the line, Mess? Where's the line?
You know what? You know where I think things went askew, and it's a thing that people don't want to talk about. It's when The Undertaker ascended at the Royal Rumble 1994 in Providence, Rhode Island, when he lost a casket match to Yokozuna, and he ascended to the heavens, and they had a pre-videotaped segment of him, ascending. And the wrestling media, whether it was Meltzer or Pro Wrestling Illustrated, maybe Meltzer, I don't know, but they didn't harshly criticize that. We just kind of went along with it because everyone loves The Undertaker. Yoko had a lot of respect, as well he should. But that particular situation is where I can say that was something that the fans should have spoke up about and said, that's crap. That's wrestle crap. That old website, wrestle crap. I mean, that was just bad. It really was.
I thought that the Ministry was bad during the Attitude Era. The Ministry portion of Taker's career wasn't so great.
No, he was trying to find himself because The Rock was so huge, Stone Cold was so huge, Triple H and Foley were right up there, that The Undertaker had to go into that demon death thing in order just to have a spot in the main type of deal, I think.
Now, I got to ask you this, to be fair, and I think about this often. The independent favorists loudly usually proclaim at the top of their lungs, okay, fine, it's their opinion, but they usually proclaim at the top of their lungs about how the future, of course, is with them, and it's in the indies, and it's the AEW. Let's get to particularly the AEW. The future right now, the main event portion of the program for this company, we got Cody. He's not that young, let's be serious. He's young, but he's getting closer to 40 than he is 30. At this point. Okay, you have Kenny Omega, same situation. Your world champion, the face of your company, the little bit of the bubbly, is 50? Or basically
49.
Okay, he's at the door. When I see this, and I see the posting of the aggressiveness of how Vince is done, we've got him now. Really? After I just named these guys being the face of the company, Matt Riddle, Velveteen Dream, Keith Lee, you know what's over in NXT, Mike. I know you know your wrestling. Is the future truly with these guys who are piping at the top of their lungs, or is Vince and Triple H, of course, behind the scenes at NXT? Don't you think these guys might know what they're doing?
Well, I think it's a great question. And if you're comparing roster per roster, you probably have 3 or 4 times as many main event potential guys in WWE/NXT/ all the UK brands, probably 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times the roster, to be honest with you. I think what it really counts is how do you deliver, how do you package those guys? And that's where less can be more. Because when you think about AEW, the advantage in less is more is, say they've got 35 wrestlers on staff at any time. They have a weekly show that's 2 hours. They have the dark show, which I think is an hour or something like that. And they're starting with 4 pay-per-views a year. That's a pretty digestible platter of wrestling for anybody. If you're talking about WWE, 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of NXT. If you want to go deep dive and go into NXT UK, you are oversaturating your own fan base. And that's why the writing, and I had a job interview for the WWE in 2007. I can tell you a little bit about that experience. When you oversaturate people with your own product, that's like saying, hey guys, we don't just have Coke and Diet Coke, we have root beer Coke, we have Coke with cherry flavors. And when you have like 50 Coke flavors, people are going to shut down and drink Pepsi. And I think that's what WWE might be fighting. They're wondering, why are we cool anymore? Because you're oversaturating your own fan base, and that's why you see tarps in Madison Square Garden instead of people.
Well, wait, let's be fair on that, Mike, is that the marketing strategy of the WWE right now is to be everything for everybody. So,
right.
At one point they pointed at a certain genre of people, right? Now they want to be everything for everybody.
Right.
That's one.
Mainstream.
Let's not also forget that the wrestling fan, and I hate to say this, today's wrestling fan is a younger group of people
Yeah.
that most of the time don't have a job.
What?
So they can't afford to go to the arena.
I don't know about that.
And
oh my
you know,
God.
or they save their dimes up to go to see WrestleMania, not because they want to see
that's
Hulk
possible.
Hogan, Andre the Giant, because they just want to say, I was at WrestleMania. And they want to save their money to go do their meet and greets and whatever. And let's get real here too. I mean, what was your favorite match of all time, Mike?
Oh.
That's a great question. I would probably go with Steamboat Flair, Clash of the Champions 6. Just watched it on TV live, like my friends. But that was probably my favorite match on TV anyway.
Many people love that Steamboat Flair match.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't an NWA guy, but of course I watched it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That match on Monday Night Raw, today's audience, does it last the test of time?
Ooh. Do the fans today
I
have
think
the patience?
I think it would.
Yeah.
I think Steamboat Flair. I get what you're saying about dated wrestling, but I think that particular match would last the test of time. I think it would.
Okay, that's fair enough. My whole point is like we were growing up, we'd watch Morocco at Backlund at the Garden.
Right.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those guys would have got booed out of the arena with that type of match. So it's all changed.
I mean, I can see if you were going to say like an Iron Mike Sharp versus Tiger Chung Lee type of match, or I mean, some of the matches you're picking for these examples are really good matches that I think would last the test of time. Morocco and Backlund did a lot of bloody matches, so I think those would.
Yeah, but if you
but I
watch
get your point. But those particular matches, I think people would like them.
If you watch the Morocco Backlund match, count the amount of arm bars that they go and to slow down the match and let the fans kind of build up.
I don't believe today's audience would have the patience for some of the classics we all love. I really don't. I don't think they'd have the patience, the deliberate, slower pacing, especially in the late Vince Senior days that we saw, and you probably saw too, Mike, at the Garden all those times in the early 80s. That pacing was different than today.
All right, Mike, I got to hit you with a really hard question. You ready?
Sure.
If you have a chick over the house, where do you hide your dolls?
Dolls?
I missed the question, sir. If I had a what?
If you have a chick over the house, where do you hide your wrestling figurines?
Where do I hide the Iron Sheik? Well, if you remember those WCW 1997 vibrating Kevin Nash and Big Show dolls, or Paul White, or you might maybe the chick would be more into it. Who knows? They still vibrate after 22 years. I mean, it's crazy. Those things must have everlasting batteries.
That's too funny. You a Road Warrior fan?
Oh yeah, the Road Warriors were the best. I mean, Hawk and Animal. I know you've got Animal coming on your show. I was watching clips. You had another favorite of mine, Barry Windham.
Yeah.
Bruce Beefcake. But yeah, the Road Warriors to me were awesome, and it was those were the Road Warriors were just a couple of guys. Road Warriors, Dusty and Hogan, guys that I haven't got to meet, but I've met Flair, I've met Piper. I've met a lot of the great wrestlers. Ox Baker was a very good friend of mine. I spoke at his funeral. I spoke at his memorial service. Ox used to come to my birthday parties in Providence, Rhode Island. So I've been friends with a lot of the wrestlers, and a lot of them are really good people.
Ox didn't cook for you, did he?
No. He would come to my birthday parties, and he would take over. He would be the life of the party. He was great.
What was the best version of the Road Warriors? NWA, AWA, WWF?
Aye.
Georgia Championship Wrestling, 1984.
Yeah.
When they're fighting Brett and Bart Sawyer, when they're fighting King Kong Bundy and Mass Superstar, or when they did the whole thing with Bundy overhearing Paul Ellering talk about his weight, when they painted Jay Youngblood with yellow paint, beating up Pez Watley, fighting Ronnie Garvin. The Road Warriors in Georgia Championship Wrestling were great. When they got to the NWA, they were still awesome. Even the AWA. Even the Legion of Doom with the red shoulder pads were pretty damn good, but I think you'd have to say that they peaked in like 84 to 87.
What'd you think of Demolition?
Thank you.
They weren't bad. Demolition was good. I think I think for two guys that were veterans, the Mass Superstar, Crusher Khrushchev, those guys had awesome careers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Demolition personally as a favorite over the Road Warriors, but I think for two veterans who had a smash mouth style and could work with the Brainbusters, they could work with anybody, the Hart Foundation. I give them a lot of respect and credit.
First ballot Hall of Famers, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think it's just been a political thing with them and Vince McMahon, that they had stipulations or disputes about who had the copyright to the name Demolition. That's keeping them out of the Hall of Fame, and that's a shame when it's political like that.
Mike, tell the fans about your experience of the almost opportunity to become a writer for the WWE.
I applied for a very long time. I started applying in 2002, seriously. They let me send in some storylines via mail, snail mail, back in 2002. I wrote an 80-page storyline, 80-page storyline. They wanted 2 storylines, so I wrote the 80-page one, and then one that was like 6 pages, because I knew the 80-page one was out of control. But I had it bullet pointed, And when they had it for like 2 or 3 weeks, and when they sent it back to me, if you ever had like a binder and you can just tell that nobody opened the pages, that's what it seemed like. They just never even opened the thing, and they just sent it right back. And then it took me 5 more years to get a in-person job interview, December 13th, 2007. It was in the wake of the Benoit situation. The Benoit thing was, I think, June of 2007. It was a cold day in Stamford, Connecticut. Basically, I met with a human resources guy. And long story short, I feel like they kind of blew me off, because the story was that they were going to close Titan Tower early that day because they feared an impending storm. So all this talk about, how Vince McMahon works tough and everybody's tough. Well, the one particular day I was there, they were all very concerned about a snowstorm coming in. Right. And the guy was impressed by my storylines. He said he's going to go get his boss from the writing team or whatever. He comes back empty-handed, and he says that his boss, and he used the term she, I don't know if he meant Stephanie McMahon or not, but he said she's getting ready to leave early for the day because of the snowstorm. So I think I got a shabazz. I think I got a screw job ending. And I still believe, guys, that the storylines I wrote for them, one of which you can see me talk about on my YouTube channel, the Kardashian-McMahon family feud, but that's not even my better storyline.
I want to hear your best story, Mike. I want to hear your best story for the fans.
My best storyline, I'll be honest with you, I keep it to myself because I still feel that if WWE or AEW or Impact or MLW or some promotion to be named were to work with me, I could use that storyline with any roster, with any company, because it's not a storyline dependent on the talent. Now, the Kardashian-McMahon storyline I'll tell you about, I had this whole thing worked out, including Hornswoggle, Edge, Kim Kardashian. At the time, it was Bruce Jenner. Boy, do things change. But I had this whole storyline involving the Kardashians to feud with the McMahons. And at the time, the Kardashians weren't as big as they are now. So that people can find on YouTube. But basically, I was seeing a thing that would end with Triple H versus Edge for the control of the WWE. Edge representing the Kardashians because he had started an affair with Kim Kardashian, dropping Vicky Guerrero along the way, and Triple H finally redeeming the McMahon family, because at that time it was still kind of a half secret that Triple H was a McMahon. They weren't openly talking about it on television in 2007.
All right, Mike, tell the fans where they get your YouTube page, where they could see your website. Tell all the fans where they could connect with Mike Messier.
I appreciate it, guys, and thanks for having me on. Yeah. MikeMessier.com, MikeMessier.com. You can look in the One Wrestling Network wrestling group, Wrestling Fans by Shane McKenna, Real Wrestling Fans, Evan Ginsberg's wrestling groups, all over Facebook. I'm everywhere. Twitter, Mikey Messier, Angry Wrestling Fan. If you want the softer, more artistic side of Mike Messier, you can go to Distance from Avalon, AVALON.com. You can go to Avalonia Festival, AVALONIA Festival on Film Freeway. If you're a playwright, if you're a filmmaker, if you've got a canine film or a mobile film or anything, you can enter Avalonia Festival, because I try to make it a film festival that doesn't have high entry fees, and it's for anybody. And if they want to send me an email, love or hate, just go to MikeMessier.com, and the contact page is right at the top. I'm easily found and hard to forget, I hope.
Well, Mike, I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for being so candid. We'll run into you a little down the road. Once again, thanks, and just tell Vince Russo I hate his guts. All right?
What? Oy.
Well, guys, I appreciate the open mic and the open minds. Have a great night, and hail, hail, rock and roll.
All right,
Yeah.
brother.
Later.
Take care.
Tell Vince Russo
so
I hate his guts.
what do you
Oh,
think-
Sandpaper Sam over here.
What do you think happened in Titan Towers? You think it's like, hey Vince, we got this guy. He's like, it's snowing. Get that fucking guy out of here.
Yeah, Vince saw a couple of like drizzle. It's drizzling. Everybody to the cars. I don't know.
I don't want to hear nothing.
You know what I don't get though? How come God didn't make the weather better that day?
Why?
Because you know, where was he? I thought he said he was a Christian. Where was God with the weather? Couldn't he make it nice that day? A little freaking snowflake and the whole thing's up in
What
the
did you
air.
think of the Kardashians?
I think about stuff like that.
What do you think of the
What?
Kardashian storyline? Did you like it?
It's kind of soap opera, you know. I mean, it all depends on how it was executed. I didn't get to ask. I heard Hornswoggle's in the middle of this.
Hornswoggle's in everything.
What is going
Back then, you had
on?
to put Hornswoggle
I
in
was like,
everything.
well, where's Hornswoggle fit in? You know, who knows?
The
Maybe
Kardashians giant ass, I'm
look,
assuming.
it wouldn't be the first time Vince did something crazy. So who knows? Maybe in the execution, it would have been cool.
Look, you
I
know
don't
what? You got to give a guy credit too. He actually
He-
got into Titan Towers,
Dude,
right?
he knocked till his knuckles were red too. You got to respect that.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
I
I
agree.
respect that. Bang, bang, bang. Let me in.
What do you think about his thoughts that he shared about what we discussed? What did you agree with? What didn't you agree with?
Well, you know, everybody's got different opinions. I don't always agree with some of the things negatively that people say about the WWE, you know, but what I liked about it was there was give and take.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse than someone who just wants to keep ramming their opinion down your throat every day, every week, every month. It's like, stop already. We heard you the first
I love
7,000
it. Give and
times.
take, right?
There's not
Right?
enough
That
give
you
and
have
take.
you could disagree,
You know?
but have a natural conversation without insulting
It's like
each other.
I
right?
said about McMahon and Russo. I like them both. I feel like they've both given great contributions. Do they both do things that are, you know, that I don't like sometimes? Absolutely, but whatever, man. I don't go crazy about judging them or like, you know, going nuts every day about them or.
Look, you know me. I don't
it is
judge.
what it
I don't
is.
judge anyone. I just want people to be honest,
Yeah.
straightforward,
Yep.
in your face.
Yeah.
And like again, the problem I had with Russo was he's applauding something
Right.
and telling these
Well, you-
women how
Oh,
to
I
spend
totally
their
got that.
how to
I
spend their
completely-
money.
Again, I was hammering it home when I said he's the face of racy wrestling television back in the day.
Let me ask you this.
He pushed the envelope
You're-
like nobody
you're a
else. That's
millionaire-
also what made him great too.
You're a millionaire wrestling
figure.
woman,
Yeah.
and you're going to your company you work for is going to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
That you know Saudis don't respect women, right? I think that's
There's definitely
established. Am I
there's
offline? with saying
No,
that?
there's definitely ideological differences.
Jim, and weigh in on this.
Absolutely.
You're a
There's
millionaire. You work for this
they're
company.
clearly
Do you make
harsher.
this hard stance and go, you know what? I'm leaving this company because you're supporting something.
I think it gets lost with all the. They deserve so much credit for getting women to wrestle there. I really think that's real change.
It is real.
That's
change.
real change with all the words and all the you know today.
Jim?
That's real change. He got women to
yeah.
wrestle in Saudi Arabia.
That's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
I mean, people in Saudi Arabia, they couldn't even show their skin.
right?
Women.
The women did totally cover up, but to their
But
credit,
you know what?
they-
That was a game changer. Then.
it was.
So, would you have a hard enough stance that you would quit something, Savali? That you would quit?
If I was making that much money,
Forget it. Say you're making $500 a week.
I'd quit if I was only making $500.
Just because someone's doing something you don't agree with?
Um,
So, okay,
it
you're working
depe-
for
it
a company
depends. It
that's
depends what
totally
someone's doing.
anti-Trump.
No, I couldn't do that.
You couldn't work for a company anti-Trump?
Nope.
When I mean anti-Trump, not like they're attacking Trump.
Right.
They're just don't support him.
I mean, it's not discussed in the office?
No, I don't know.
As long as they're, what do you mean?
After the election, they don't come in and go like, yeah, you know, like.
My whole point is,
man,
I
I
don't,
work
you know
in a
what?
place that
Your
was- oh
thoughts
my
are your
God.
thoughts. That's why I fought for this country. You have a right to think what you want.
Right.
I agree with the Pharaoh. The one thing, it's very nice to have someone on air
Right.
that sits and goes back and forth with you,
Yeah.
but doesn't get stupid, right?
Right.
Right.
That was
Right?
fine.
Right.
Yeah, that was
And,
cool.
and that's
Yeah.
what we got.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
3 minutes to midnight?
Yep, 3
That's
minutes.
an extra minute of Iron Maiden.
You got McGuire.
Okay.
In on Thursday. Thoughts on JJ? What are you looking forward to?
Can't wait. Boy, I hope he's got that guitar and he starts leading and stuff like that. Because, dude, this is going to sound goofy, but his solo on the HBK's theme, oh my God. Mess all over the floor.
Oh
That's
my
all.
God.
It's great.
What?
Wait, mess all over the floor.
Yeah, I just like completely lost it, man. It's musical orgasm is what I'm getting at. Whatever, man. What, you never, like, no, well, I'm not saying physically, but
So you got
spiritually.
you actually got five big time superstars.
Yeah.
You got a guy that wrote for the
got
WWE music,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You got Michael Elgin, who's a pretty large independent or New Japan
That's
wrestling
you're
guy.
damn straight he is.
Road Warrior Animal, who's a Hall of Fame wrestler, right?
Legend.
Hillbilly Jim, which everybody knows who
Another
Hillbilly
legend.
Jim is.
Yeah.
And then you finish it up with Buff Bagwell. And let's not forget,
Yeah.
Stephen Miller will be here, who
Stephen
most
Miller.
recently wrote
Miller.
The book.
the book.
The book on the Rascal.
The Rascals.
The Rascal book.
What are you most excited for?
Steve Miller. I'm kidding. Or am I? Actually, Road Warrior, I'm losing my mind here.
You're ready for Road
I'm
Warrior.
losing. We're going to have one of the Road Warriors here. Come on. You're going to lose.
And that's
me.
a legitimate badass, right?
Oh, yeah,
Like you won't get any
slightly
Monte. You won't get
nervous
any
as
Monte
I
nonsense there.
should be.
Yeah.
I'm slightly nervous. That's one tough mamma jamma. Oy. But I'm pretty psyched about that. That's a legend and a half right there.
And you're going to do your first event with wrestling fans.
That should be interesting.
Feelings on that?
Make sure I don't bring my whiskey. So I behave myself, and looking forward to it.
And week 4 into cable television.
Awesome.
Thoughts on that? Are you still as excited as you were from week 1?
Very excited. As you know, behind the scenes, we've been doing some
TV.
editing and stuff, and getting the stuff bouncing between you, me, and Bart, and it's been awesome.
You want to make an announcement maybe about the cable TV that any of the other shows on the network
Hey, wake up over there.
who might want to have their show on cable TV can
Yeah,
talk
we're talking to
to
you.
Mike. Can talk to Mike.
Yeah.
If you're interested in getting your show on cable TV, Mike has the way to do it. It does require some other stuff, but he's your contact there. And
I'll tell you the Reach of Village Connection. We were emailed last week, I think. I forget what it.
yep,
That we were the #1 watch show on Channel 150.
on that channel. Yep, his show.
Yeah, so.
Their show.
All right, anyway, we're out of time. I want to thank Mikey Messier for joining us.
That was good, man.
I want to thank Jim, as his usual high-level production.
I want to. Can I just say one
go
thing? I was actually so sad. I was crying the other day
What happened?
that
Oh, here we go.
that Pharaoh missed Hollywood.
Oh,
man.
I mean, I was shedding tears for you, bro. I just
me?
felt so bad.
Why?
She was sitting right there. Right there, she was sitting. Like that, right there, like right there.
yeah,
I got to tell you,
that works.
sitting.
I feel special.
Mike, can I ask you a question? How many times did she touch your arm?
Would you stop?
lot.
No, how many? I know you counted.
What is going on?
7.
7.
No. But on a serious note, though, I got to tell you, it's like, you know how you know that someone's just a good person?
Okay.
Yeah, she's
What
a very nice
wonderful
person.
Was it when she
Holy
touched
cow.
your arm that you realized?
I was
7
I
times.
got pretty big arms. People
Well,
don't touch me.
after the third one, then
Do
he
you
was
think Road
okay.
Warrior Animal's gonna shit a brick when he sees me?
What? Oh, dude.
I think he's going to be questioning what's up. What's up?
I'm not going there,
Might be
man.
what's-
This guy makes me nervous.
Listen,
I'm not going there with
we gotta
that.
get out of
You're
here.
on your own.
When Marty kicked
What?
my ass, if Road Warrior Animal wants to kick my ass, you jumping in?
What implement of destruction am I allowed to bring with me?
You better bring a fucking missile.
Because basically, I think I need my car. Can I fit in here? Can I fit in this room? with my
Anyway,
car?
I want to thank everybody
Oh,
for joining.
no, thanks.
Mikey was fantastic. Again, great conversation. We'll see you next Thursday with singer, songwriter, WWE, and WCW, JJ McGuire. And then that Friday, we have Michael Elgin, we have Road Warrior Animal, we have Hillbilly Jim, and we
Wait.
close it out with Buff Bagwell. We will have one half of Wisteria Hall with JJ McGuire during that day playing. So it's going to be nothing but fun. And then catch us at the big event in Queens, the LaGuardia Hotel. All right, want to thank everybody. Catch you next Thursday, JJ McGuire, 8:05 to 9 p.m. Pharaoh?
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. Until next week, later.